It's Friday night, so it's time for the Asea show with the regulars, Jim and Ann Glenn, brand new double diamonds from San Antonio, Texas.
Thank
Jim
you.
is our money man. Yeah, we are so proud. He's our money man, and Ann is she's a nutritionist and a physical trainer, so rounds out the group. Dr. Lee Osler, our dentist extraordinaire, former founding member and former president of AOSH, the American Academy for Oral Systemic Health. So he brings a wealth of knowledge to the group. And then and me, I'm Dr. Maureen Hayes from Galveston, Texas. I bring a little something to the group too.
Right. You bring everything to the group.
You're the princess.
I bring the fun and the crazy hair. And tonight we have an incredibly special guest, somebody that is a fan favorite that we've had on before. People just raved about it. We love it. Soon to be one of the medical professional board members because she brings just a wealth of experience and knowledge to the group. This is Donnellyn Dominguez. She's a diamond with our company, and she is a midwife with a lot of experience birthing babies. And she's going to tell her story about how she got introduced. In fact, she was introduced by the beautiful Ann and Jim Glenn, beautiful Jim as well. David Glenn, who brought her in, and she has an amazing personal story to share, but also has been taking care of a lot of mamas. So Donnellyn, without further ado, please come on and tell us your journey. Tell us a little bit about your background, what you do, how long you did it, about your birthing center, and how you get introduced. Take it away, Donnellyn.
Okay, thank you so much, Maureen and everybody. And congratulations again, Jim and Ann. I'm so proud of you and excited for you. That's awesome. My background is I'm a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and a midwife. And I have been a midwife for 16 years now. That's not long in the great scheme of things. There are many midwives who have practiced longer, but I started when I was pretty old. And so I just worked really, really hard and have attended around 1,000 births. I owned a birth center for 10 years. I've still got a few babies on the books that I am assisting their birth, but I am very close to being through until my grandchildren begin to have babies, which could happen soon. So, but all of that to say, midwifery has been a blessing to me. I knew I was called to do it. I loved it, and I did it hard. And I worked hard, very hard. I had a 10,000 square foot birth center. I had a whole staff of people that we employed, several other midwives, and a lot of students that we trained. And then all the administrative team, which my husband was part of that, and my grandson, Austin, also. And so we had about 15 people that we paid and that helped us. And it was a great gig until I got sick. And in 2015, they discovered a place on my leg that had kind of begun to look funny. And when the biopsy came, I got bad news. And then we had the surgery to get rid of that. And I took a lymph node, said I was fine. And I thought everything was good, except that my leg was kind of torn up and I limped real bad and kind of tore the other leg up during the recovery. But I could still work, and I never stopped. I worked on crutches. Because, you know, when you own a business, you don't just take time off. There's nobody pays you sick leave. So, and if I didn't work, the bills didn't get paid. So I worked through everything I experienced. And then a year later, a lump developed above that. When they checked it, bad news again, except that it was worse. It had metastasized into my organs, and my prognosis was fair. And so, you know, what do? My husband said, you're going to go the medical route, because I had a reputation for doing everything naturally. I liked homeopathics and herbs and tinctures and nutrition and exercise and all the things that you do to stay healthy. That's what I lived. That's what I taught. And that was my go-to. But he said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go the medical route because of the severity of the situation. I was not expected to live. It was spreading quickly. And so I said, okay, we'll do it. The scheduled treatments were 4 in every 6 weeks, 1 every 6 weeks for 4 treatments. The third one killed my pituitary gland, put me in ICU, and I almost did not make it. So when I did come out of that, I said, I'm done with the medical route. Doctor said, you have to continue 1 IV bag of fluid every month for the rest of your life, or this will come back because it's just quiet for the moment. And I said, no, not going to do it. You just nearly killed me. I'm not going to do it. So I began to search for something. And in that process, it was a 16-month search. But in that process, I found Redox. Or I'd have to say it found me. My nutritionist that had helped me with so many supplements introduced me to it, but I'm sure she explained what it was, but I didn't get it. I was very busy in a lot of discomfort with that other knee that had gone bad, and busy, 6 to 16 bursts a month, trying to function and not being able to stay up past 6 p.m. at night, having to hire a lot of extra help. Health was just not good, but I couldn't tell anybody because I did at one point post something about it, and a mom that had twins quit. She went to the doctor and said, I'm afraid you won't be alive for my delivery. So I thought, man, I'm not telling anybody else. I'm not posting anything else because I didn't want to lose business, So got to December. I had been placed on auto ship in May, wouldn't take it because it tasted funny and I didn't understand what it was. Jim pestered me to death. He's text all the time about this function, that function, do this, do that, phone calls, let's get together. And I just wouldn't answer the phone. And I didn't respond to the text because, number one, I had a full-time job. I did not want anything to do with network marketing. I knew that it would take effort if I was going to do anything with it, and I didn't want to do anything with it. I had a birth center, I had a job, I had a great income. I just didn't have very good health. So I ignored him until December. And in December, he called on December the 4th, and I answered the phone. And I think that was the first miracle. Second miracle was I was honest with him. He asked how I was doing, and I said, not good. So once we had gotten through what the product was, what it did, why I should drink it, and I had 7 cases from letting auto ship stack up, I told him, okay, I'll be my own guinea pig. Don't expect me to talk to anybody. I'll show you this doesn't work. Just like everything else I had tried over that 16-month period hadn't worked, to the tune of about $20,000 worth of stuff. So I was discouraged and despondent, and I admit very rude. It's a wonder he didn't hang up on me. But I'm so glad he didn't, because he explained what redox signaling molecules were and what they would do. And I told him that sounded too good to be true, so it probably was. But since he said it was 100% non-toxic, I said, okay, I'll drink it. And if a little's good, more has to be better. So I increased the amount I drank every 3 days for I don't know how long, but by the 3rd week, I was probably drinking between 28 and 32 ounces a day. And for the first time in 16 months, I stayed up till 11 o'clock at night, and I knew something was changing. I'd been in bed at 6 p.m. every night for 16 months. So that was the way I was introduced to the product. God literally gave me my health back, and I promised if that was really working and my body was really healing itself with these amazing molecules, that I would be faithful to tell everybody and give him the credit. And I try to do that every time I tell my story, because I know it was a miracle. And 2 weeks later, I trotted down the stairs like a 16-year-old, and I'm not 16. And So then I knew, this is amazing. It worked on cellular things and rerouting the function of a pituitary gland that had no function. So I felt like I made cortisol again, even though I don't. And it worked on a joint that wouldn't heal because of probably the steroids that I have to take. But whatever, it was very different things going on in my body, and everything was getting well. So I was excited, and I told everybody that walked through the door. I mean, they didn't even have to stand still. I chased them around to tell them about my miracle. And then Jim was there for me still, amazingly. And I'd call him and say, can you help her? I don't have time. And I didn't have any time, but he would help me get my people signed up because everybody wanted to feel as good as I did. I was jumping and running up and down the stairs at the birth center to show everybody I could. And my energy level had come back till my 21-year-old student said she couldn't keep up with me. And oh my gosh, it was just, the difference was night and day.
And Donnellyn, if you don't mind my saying so, you just had a big birthday and you look amazing. You look fantastic. I don't know if you want to share, but you look like so.
I just turned 70 on April the 16th, and I feel more like, I mean, you were sweet to me, Maureen. You said, I think you're the one that said 70 is the new 50. So I'll take it. I feel younger than that. But anyway.
You look really young too. So fabulous.
You're so sweet. But so we began to just make it happen. Jim's help, my busyness. He did a lot of connect calls with me, and he would connect me with all these people that would tell me their story. And I knew mine, and I knew it was real. But I began to think, all these people can't be lying. It must not be a coincidence that I got well. I mean, this must really work on everybody. It must really do what they say it did, which blew me away because I've had experience with other companies, other products, never took anything that I could feel a difference with, even if I thought it was good for me, But this one was amazing.
Okay, Lee, a lot of people may not know what these molecules things are that she's talking about. Can you go over that and then kind of go ahead and make our disclaimer that you know what the disclaimer is? Can you go ahead and do that for us, please?
Sure. It's important that everybody understands that we're not making any claims. We've heard a great story here, and we could dial up several others on the spot, but we don't make any claims. This is a supplement under FDA rules, and we don't diagnose. We don't use it to treat specific named diseases. But it doesn't dissuade us from talking about the biology. There's some redox biology at the foundation of this that you can certainly learn about, study about, connect the dots, and then as you hear the stories, you'll understand why it is that they're working. As Donnellyn was talking, it was very illustrative of a broad, across the board foundational description of what these molecules are doing. And the bottom line there is that every one of us, in every one of our cells, we have mitochondria that are responsible for converting energy that we eat, in the form of carbohydrates and proteins and so forth, to convert those into energy molecules. That's called Krebs cycle that happens in the mitochondria, and as a process of making those energy molecules that power us in all of our activities, we also make some reactive oxygen molecules. And it's these oxidants or these reactive molecules that we have a hard time dealing with sometimes. We've built an entire industry over the last 4 or 5 decades on antioxidant vitamins. And there's multiple companies out there selling them. You can get them at any drugstore. And their purpose is to help quench the fire, put out the free radical, to reduce the reactiveness of these molecules so they don't do damage to us at the cellular level. Well, what's interesting is that nature, God, however you want to equate that, has prepared a way naturally for, I call it the inner doctor, to be awakened, to be able to solve these problems on our own. And the problem is is that these signaling molecules that activate our own defenses, they become diminished over time and with disease. And so as we get older, we age, we wrinkle, our hair turns gray, we slow down, we have more discomfort. And those are just the manifest symptoms and the signs of this process slowing down and not working like it should be. A 10-year-old falling off his bike is certainly not the same as Jim Glenn falling off his bike, because he's going to have a much harder time getting back up than us young bucks who come along and we can just bounce right back. So the point is that this great company came along and said, we're gonna dive into this research and we're going to create a product. We're going to create a supplement that has the ability to create these bioidentical molecules called redox signaling molecules that are in that blue bottle that Jim just held up in front of us right there. So they're stabilized in that solution, kind of floating around and sailing. That does taste a little bit like pool water because that's the nature of the beast. And that when you put those in your body, it's like filling the gas tank back up. It's like replenishing. You're doing more than supplementing. You're actually replenishing what you're not making so much of as you get older. And then all of the gene activation for your natural antioxidants starts to kick in. That's just one, but there's a multitude of genes that begin working more properly and doing the functions. And that's the whole point of disease. Anytime you have this bad cell division disease that Donnellyn was talking about, or you have any other disease or ailment or conditions, at its root cause, at its very basement level, it's because cells weren't working in the first place. And when they don't work well, or they become dysfunctional over time, then disease starts to show up. And so we just have been so blessed to have this wonderful company with this great leadership, with this great research and development that really has given us a fabulous breakthrough in this whole science of redox biology, which they never thought was ever going to happen, but they did it. It's now patented, and we can now replenish ourselves with the very bioidentical same molecules that we make. They're native to our body, and they activate these healing processes. It wakes up the doctor inside so that we can heal naturally rather than have to be acted upon by outside measures or pharmaceuticals or surgeries and so forth. Again, which is not to say that there isn't a need or a place for some of those that, when it happens, it happens. And I sure hope there's some great physicians available that can put my body back together when I take a tumble. But this is, hopefully that answered the question you wanted me to go at, Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Donnellyn, a lot of times people sometimes confuse this for as we get older, but yet you deal with a lot of young moms and dads too, right? What have you seen? How have you seen these molecules work when it comes to moms and dads and then the babies?
Well, that was the next part of my story, in that when I got so well and realized this is 100% non-toxic, and it did work on every situation in my body that was going on, and I continued to feel better and better, I thought, why would I not use this for my pregnant moms as a supplement? Because they come to me to take care of them when they're pregnant, and I had a whole list of things that we gave them to support the pregnancy and prevent certain things that occur during pregnancy, and correct things when they happened that are common in pregnancy. And I thought, why not use this? Nothing I'm using is 100% non-toxic, not one single thing, but this is. So that means it can't hurt anybody. And I didn't have that assurance from any other supplement, herb, tincture, nothing. Even essential oils. There were some I could not use. And I used them. I loved them. But this just seemed like an answered prayer. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try it. So I began to teach them about it. in their nutrition and exercise class that I did when they were only about between 12 and 16 weeks. I would teach this with the importance of nutrition, the importance of exercise, the importance of drinking water, relaxation. We teach that and teach them to practice it. And now I had the addition of redox signaling molecules. And I began to get girls to get on it. Some went, of course, whatever's good for my baby, I want to do that. And so it was fascinating. You know, I kind of held my breath because you're
Well, I remember
always
talking to you. I remember talking to you about that. But how long was it in your journey before you felt that I should start sharing it with the moms?
I was probably, I would say, I don't remember exactly, but I would say I was probably close to 6 months in before I worked up the nerve to start sharing it. Because number one, I did not want to be accused of trying to run a network through my birth center to make extra money. And there's always the fear of I'm the provider. You know, if anything goes wrong, it's going to be on me.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's interesting, Donnellyn. Forgive me for interrupting, but did you bring, because we go through this a lot with practitioners, when you brought your moms on, were you just setting them up with customer accounts, or did any of them were any of them entrepreneurial and said, you know, hey, how do I share this?
I gave them the option. I tried to teach them about it. When after we did the general teaching, I would talk to them individually if they had any interest. And I would tell them, you know, I had it at the birth center, they could just buy it. Or they could be a preferred customer and have it delivered to their home. Or if they thought that they would like to be an associate, then they would sign up as an associate. And some of them have actually built businesses, but not a lot, but some of them. So, but the things that it fixed in pregnancy were amazing. I'm real strict with my girls. I had a t-shirt that said mom, M-O-M, and it stood for mean old midwife, because I would really come down on them about nutrition, exercise, water, so on and so forth. If I felt like that their pregnancy was suffering because they weren't doing the right things. So when we added this, there were things that we could correct that we would have had to use medicine for in any other scenario. And we just began to see situation after situation after situation. And then when the group that delivered, the group that took it began to deliver, the births were amazing. They definitely showed us the difference. And sometimes even in labor, I would give them 2 ounces every hour, you know, and just
What made them amazing? If you wouldn't mind explaining kind of the difference, what you saw.
I'm always real careful when I do this in a mixed group because, you know, men are funny about talking about girl stuff. But the average blood loss, for one thing, that's just part of birth. It was much reduced. I mean, sincerely, majorly reduced in the group that I had on the Redox. I actually ran sort of my own little test, and I did a spreadsheet on the ones that took it and a spreadsheet on more that didn't, just so I would have a good pool to compare to. And the bleeding was so much less, significantly reduced when they had been on Redox. The other midwife and I that were working together the most were always shocked. I mean, like, really, is that all? So very good results with that. The tissue integrity was better, so much better. So there were fewer lacerations. The severity of lacerations was much less. So not near as much suturing going on. The girls like that. The Group B strep test that we run on all of them, I was surprised that it wasn't a lot different. But, you know, Group B strep kind of lives in your gut. and it can take a long time. And I never really know how faithful my girls are about the supplements or, anything they take. I know that there have been times that I checked their iron levels and go, are you taking your, I used a natural supplement, but are you taking it? Well, sometimes I forget, and sometimes I just take one dose. And I constantly was telling somebody, it doesn't work to just buy it. You have to actually swallow it.
That's hilarious. I hated iron supplements, though. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Well, but my iron supplements weren't like the normal iron supplements for pregnancy. They didn't have those negative side effects because they were just blood builders. They were really natural, and they helped your system work instead of kind of stopping things up, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I should have got to it midway.
Another thing that we noticed that we loved was the group that took Redox didn't transport. I didn't have any transports, no transports to the hospital.
Wow.
And the other group, there was a large number, 26%. And that's higher than we normally have. But I counted the babies too, because I could correct things that were going on with the babies after birth because I had the gel and I had the spray, the liquid in a spray form. So if baby's breathing was a little rough, I'd rub some gel on his lungs and the back of his actual back, up and down his spine, sometimes on the bottoms of their feet, because there are a lot of points underneath the toes that are connected to organs. And so we would rub the gel and they'd clear up. We also had a neonatal NICU nurse, which is a blessing, but the group that didn't take it, we had her too, and we still had transports. So
anyway, this is Donnellyn, we probably should just give that disclaimer one more time. This is absolutely amazing to hear this. But again, these products aren't made to diagnose or treat, cure anything. They just help the body do its job better. So sometimes you just need a little help, right? When babies are born and all. So that's absolutely amazing. And I love this, Donnellyn, because, it does say on the bottle, to consult your doctor if you're pregnant, right? And, you're supposed to go to your doctor, and a lot of doctors don't even know about it. And people will call me and I'll be like, well, I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor. So, okay. Exactly. Doctor. So I love that you have this experience and you can share this with everybody. We know it's 100% non-toxic, but pregnant women are, they're mother bears, so you have to be very.
And if they were nervous about it, I just said, don't do it. Don't do it. If you're not comfortable, don't do it. But I can't imagine how anything could be safer than 100% non-toxic. So I'm comfortable with it if you're comfortable with it. And I never told them that it would heal, cure, prevent, protect them from any disease. But I did explain to them that it would help their body work the way it was designed to. And the whole thing that Alan talks about with, blackouts in certain areas, when that area is not working properly, the redox signaling molecules kind of turn the lights back on when your body begins to communicate the way it's supposed to again. Your cells begin to communicate. And they all saw it. I had one little girl with high sugar, and she got on a good nutritional program that I threatened her if she didn't. And she began to drink Redox, and everything was fine when she really would have been on medication otherwise. And she had a cheat day and called me and told me, and her sugar was up to like 260. And I said, well, we need to drink 8 ounces of Redox and then do that in the next 15 minutes, and then begin to drink water and drink a quart over the next 45 minutes and take your sugar levels again and give me a call. She did. And it had come down to 130.
That's awesome.
I had to say, do not ever think that just because that worked that you can cheat. And that's not the goal here. But
right.
I just saw instance after instance of like that where the cells woke up. It's like they wake up and go, oh, there's the problem. And then the body knows how to fix it. It's not the redox. We talked about that a lot. All of them knew that it was a supplement, not a medicine, not a drug, not intended to cure anything, but it certainly made their bodies function the way they should. And probably the most significant number that I collected during the whole experiment was the length of labor for my girls that were on it averaged 6 hours and 26 minutes. And the length of labor for girls that were not on it averaged 17 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
amazing.
That's not unusual in labor. 17 hours is
Oh
not.
no.
You know,
No.
first time mom can labor from 18 to 24 hours, and that's kind of expected. And this was a mixed group. I've got to go in and redo and separate out first time moms and multips and all of the things. But just overall, they were both the whole group. Those numbers were taken on the whole group. And I was just shocked. But that's what happens when the body is working the way it's designed to.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear that, because we all know that, the second, third, whatever birth goes faster. But I was in labor for so long. What's that? I was caught trying to schedule my own C-section because I'm a doctor. I'm like, get the OR ready. They're like, you don't get to do that. I had had it, but again, can I ask a question? This may seem really kind of basic, but can you tell us the difference? I think I understand what a midwife is, but can you just kind of explain what it is that you do that's different from, say, a regular OB
Absolutely.
doctor?
There's a place for both professions. And my goal from the very beginning was to bridge the gap, because I love my collaborative care doctor that worked with me and helped me, mentored me, and taught me for the whole time I've been a midwife. And I actually worked in his office half a day a week for 5 years so that I could learn the way he did things and share with him what I did in those situations and, make sure I had his approval. So that also won his trust for me. So he would send me people that he wouldn't have normally let a midwife deliver. But a midwife is trained specifically for birth, from conception through postpartum. And we study and know all of the ramifications that the medical community knows, but we are trained for normal. And they have to be in that normal criteria to come to a midwife. I would not take someone that had 2 or 3 C-sections, unless I was just doing their prenatal care and taking them to the hospital for their delivery, which we did some of that with my doctor, because they like the midwifery model. We spend 45 minutes to an hour with every client, every appointment. We go over what they've been doing, where they are physically, emotionally, mentally, how they're doing. We train them all the way through. So when it comes to birth time, I know them and they know me. I always tell them, when you first come in, you're just an acquaintance. But by the time you have that baby, you're going to know when I'm mad at my husband, and I'm going to know when you're mad at yours, because we have gotten very close. And then after they have that baby and we go through that very intimate birth process together, spending that, I'm not usually with them the entire labor, but a good portion of it, usually 4 to 6 hours before birth and at least 4 after. After we've done that together, they're like my daughter. So I've got 1,000 daughters out there. I love it. And a whole bunch of grandbabies. All the little babies that I've delivered call me BB, just like my grandkids do. So it's a very intimate relationship. It's not just, oh, who's this patient? Let's look at the chart. It's not that at all. they're still asking me over to dinner, and I love it, and I get to play with their children. So it's a different model of care, but we are medically trained to do everything a doctor does except surgery. No surgeries. I deliver babies. I'm trained to take care of the prenatal, do the labs, do the blood draws, do the suturing after delivery, whatever is needed. IVs, we can do all of that. I've got standing orders from the doctor and have everything legally just as it needs to be. But if it goes to not normal, and I think baby's in trouble for any reason, we go to the hospital.
Wow, thank you for that. That sounds awesome.
I would have loved to have known about all this in Redox back when I had one with a midwife 31 years ago. So I can think of all the things that the modalities of Renew 28 that could solve things for mamas between, obviously the 9 months, and for the baby's colic, and for episiotomies and C-section. I mean, think of all the ways.
By the way.
But
So I don't do those.
Good.
You don't
Well,
do what?
I don't do
Episiotomies.
episiotomies.
You
But
don't?
unfortunately, some women that could be listening had one or will, and you can think of the recovery someone could get if they knew about redox and allowing their body to heal instead of suffering like they would. So I can just think of so many ways that redox would help. I'm thinking about the gene study. Maybe you could share a little about that, with our pathways, and one of those being infertility. I mean, think about all the mamas and dads that would like to have a baby, and it takes, as Alan Noble says, it takes redox. How does our body know we need more insulin? How does our body know to make a baby? Redox signaling molecules, right? So maybe you could address the gene study and how powerful it is to validate the science for people listening.
Well, we have studied that and shown that to our girls. There have been a number of girls who had a miscarriage or had trouble conceiving, and then when we start them on the redox, they have a successful pregnancy. Now, I wouldn't say 100% because 100% don't come to me, and I don't get to follow up with everybody. But it was always a suggestion because that is one of the things that the gene study showed. And the serotonin, how many pregnant women have trouble sleeping, the hormonal roller coaster that they go on all the way through pregnancy. Sometimes the husbands go, "Where'd my wife go? This is not the woman that I used to have," especially when they're in labor. So to level those hormones for pregnancy, labor, and postpartum is a gift for everybody. They love it. The number of people who struggled with postpartum depression, I mean, there was none in this control group, none. And so, and all the things, like you say, with the gel for baby, for mama, for anything that's sore or trying to heal. When something will help them heal 5 times faster, it's good. And so, I mean, I just can't say enough. All of the things, they even had, what was the one on a sudden death on the study as well. So that's part of the gene study. I mean, everything that redox does, everyone needs. But in pregnancy, if I was the fairy princess, Maureen, and could wave a wand and insist that every pregnant girl get on redox, it would be a gift to her. And I had some that I saw their numbers or their labs not going in the right direction. We would make all of the normal recommendations about what to do with diet and so forth. But they were like, "Oh, I can't, there's no way I can afford that. I can't spend that much money." And then they end up in the hospital. Wow. Well, how much more expensive is a trip to the hospital than the price of redox? So I'm a big proponent of it's better to invest in your health than to try to pay to recover it. And I was a perfect example. My payment to try to recover it was extensive. It was very, very expensive. So this is a bargain to me. And then not only that, but the fact that you can help other people and your product ends up paid for. You know, it's free. Jim shocked me when he finally got me to slow down long enough to say, have you set up your smart wallet? This was probably 2 months in. And I said, what's a smart wallet? And he said, they're trying to pay you. And I went, really? They're going to pay me? Because I hadn't done anything except be excited and tell everybody I know. But a lot of them just wanted to feel as good as I mean, it was like, whoa, what happened to her? So they wanted to feel that good too. They wanted that Kool-Aid I was drinking.
That's awesome. Hey, I do have to ask real quick. Did you notice anything about their attitude? Like, did they go into transition less? Were they nicer?
Our girls, Maureen, the way we train them, it's not as hard to have a baby when you have had the kind of nurturing and training that I do. And I'm going to plug my childbirth class that I have filmed and I'm going to put online because I want that to be available to people, whether they're doing the hospital or the midwifery model of care. But we teach them to relax. We teach them to breathe. And yeah, transition still comes and it's still hard. But I never took a girl to the hospital that was crazy screaming or having a fit or anything else. They were breathing through their contractions. Now, I helped, I coached, but the nurses would often say, wow, you're handling this so well. But they could, because when you relax, they're not as uncomfortable as they are when you're tense and fighting and pulling away and trying to get away from that contraction that's going to happen anyway, you know? So we work with them like all the way through the childbirth classes. It was 7 weeks in a row. And I started the one early on to teach them how to practice. And then we did it every week together. We talked about it all the time. We would, do tests on whether or not they could really relax their muscles when I tell them to or touch their shoulders. And so it does help to have this model of care. As far as Redox, I would think it would help but you don't have anything to compare to. I can't say, okay, let's go through transition one time without Redox, and then I'm going to give it to you and let's go through it again and see how you do. You can't.
Somebody was asking what it meant. They said they've never had a baby, so they don't know what transition is. Maybe you'd like to give.
There is a time in labor. Your early labor is from 0 to 4 centimeters, and that's the centimeters are how much your cervix has dilated, and your cervix has to dilate to 10 for a baby to come out. 10 centimeters. And it's an approximation, of course. It just means that it's completely open. And so at 4 centimeters, you're in active labor. Before that, you're in early labor, and then you're in active labor from 4 centimeters to about 7 centimeters. And at around 7 centimeters, you go into transition when your body really begins to work to move the baby down into the birth canal and help you deliver. And it's intense. It is more intense. It's the shortest period of the labor, but your body reacts in all kinds of ways. If you focus on how uncomfortable it is, it can be pretty not fun, the real deal. But like I said, if you focus on relaxing and breathing and letting your tissue, the elasticity in your tissue work the way it was designed to and not fight and tense up, then it's not as uncomfortable. It helps so much to have someone working with you. So even if you're having a hospital birth, I would recommend you have a well-trained doula that knows how to coach you into relaxation and position changes. You know, a lot of times in the hospital, some doctors are amazing and have birth pools and let you get into different positions, but a lot of traditional doctors put you on a table, you put your legs up in stirrups, and you do labor until you deliver the baby. Well, that's a very uncomfortable position. So there's just a lot of things with the midwifery model of care that are friendlier, more gentle, more comfortable, and more in tune with what the woman's body wants her to do. Women like to move when they're in labor. My women loved water births. I probably did, I'd say 88 to 93% of my births were in the water because
The pool?
it helped them.
Wow.
Mhm.
Hey, this is all coming about 30 years too late for me, which I only had one. I was like, no, thank you.
Hey, okay, I've got a quick question, Donnellyn. A lot of births are being done via C-section. Can you go over, like with what you did, what the importance of the baby going through the birth canal?
Well, it's very
Is that a big deal?
It's a very big deal. They
Okay.
need all of the bacteria that they are exposed to in the birth canal. That's healthy bacteria, just like when we study about the bacteria in our gut and needing probiotics and prebiotics to help our gut be healthy. Well, there's a lot of really healthy bacteria in the vaginal tract. And when the babies miss that, their immune system does not do as well. So they have started doing things to try to help the baby when they're not able to be born vaginally. But a lot of C-sections are really not necessary. Now, if they were at the hospital with me, with the doctor I worked with, if they got a C-section, that was the last house on the block. They needed one. And I could always assure them that was all we could do, you know. But there are other medical providers that encourage girls to induce at 39 weeks or 38 weeks when they're having their first baby. Well, first baby isn't really ready to come normally until about 10 days after the due date. Typical first-time moms go into labor at 41 and a half weeks. And to force it before that can set up the whole downhill scenario that ends in a C-section. I always give the example of an avocado. Have you ever tried to make guacamole out of an avocado that's rock hard? Everybody has tried. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Same thing is true of a cervix that is not ripe and ready to open. So you can pound on it all day long with drugs that make the contractions happen, but if it's not ripe, it's going to stay closed.
Yeah.
So eventually you end up with a C-section because baby is in distress, or they say failure to progress, you've been in labor too long, your blood pressure's going up, your baby's heart rate's going down, you know, just things that happen. And I'm not bad-mouthing doctors. I love doctors. I would have been one. I would have gone to medical school. I was just too old. I mean, I knew I couldn't ever get through and start practicing. I started midwifery at 54, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I love doctors. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that that is a typical scenario in many areas. C-sections can be as high as 60% of the time. It should be between 4 and 16%.
Well, I would think the mamas getting close to the due date would be good to. Did you have moms increase their dose in the Asea? I mean, were they averaging 8 ounces a day, or some were 4 ounces because that's all they could do? Or do you have like on your chart?
If they were healthy, I just had them do 2 ounces twice a day. If
Okay.
we had an issue, then they would increase accordingly. If they caught a cold, I'd have them drink an ounce an hour all day long.
Good.
And their body would overcome whatever was, you know, trying to get them. And, you know, I used the same thing. So did all my staff. We just used it basic, normal, minimal amount unless there was an issue. Now, during birth, like I said, sometimes I'd give them 2 ounces every hour.
Good.
Just to help them. One birth, I gave it to mom and I gave it to dad because he was coming down with something. And so I gave it to both of them every hour, and he went home. They took the baby home and he didn't get sick. So
Probably kept him calm too.
well, not that one. It was a birth, and he was not calm.
I thought
He
that's
was
what she
pretty
meant.
excited.
Oh, wow.
Donnellyn,
I know
can
it's that.
can you speak to the baby side of this just for a moment? You know, your focus has been on the woman, you know, the pregnancy action. Now that it's over and the baby's out, you know, speak to the baby. Were the babies receiving any redox other than, you know, the urgent needs?
No, the babies did not continue to get it except in the form of the Renew 28.
Okay.
So if there was an issue with maybe thrush, which is yeast in baby's mouth that they get from nursing, if mama had high yeast count in her body, then sometimes it would transfer to her nipple, which would transfer to baby's mouth. So I've given moms spray bottles that they spray the baby's mouth, and that helps the baby's body overcome that. And then there's diaper rash. And then for the little boys that actually got circumcised, this helped their healing so much, so quick and not uncomfortable. And then a lot of babies, Lee, you will know about this, need laser revision for their tongue or their lip and frenulum, either direction, upper or lower. And when they got that laser treatment and the tongue they needed to do the stretching exercises so that it, you know, released it completely and healed properly. We'd have them use the gel, and the baby did not complain as much. Now, they don't like your thumbs in their mouth or their fingers in their mouth to do that tissue stretching, but it didn't hurt. And I have one particular amazing dentist that I sent all my babies to for that procedure. And she would tell them not to use it in the first 24 hours because it healed it too fast. So.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then teething babies. And then, you know, babies with colic, we can have them, mommies rub it on their little bellies and they'll just be kicking and screaming and all balled up, and you rub it on their little bellies and they just relax.
Yeah.
Cutest thing.
Yeah. Can you also talk about placentas? Did you notice a difference in the placentas?
Huge difference. They were healthy. You know, the placenta is actually a barrier organ, and so it catches the junk. Now, if somebody lives on McDonald's and Sonic, and, you know, I would always tell them, you can tell me whatever you want to about your nutrition, but I will find the Sonic receipts in your placenta. And I examined it every time, and I could tell if it was healthy and if they had good nutrition, or if it was junk, it was falling apart. And, you know, placenta encapsulation has been a thing the last few years, and there were not in this control group that took it, but there have been moms that had not taken it, and some even before we knew anything about it, that I told, do not encapsulate this. I do not want you to put it back in your body because it wasn't healthy. And, you know, it's just like any organ. It can be very nutritive to nourishing their bodies in some ways if it's healthy. But if it's junk, you don't want to put it back. So I saw a huge difference with the ones that were on it. Usually the ones that were on the Redox were pretty dedicated, and they did eat well. They didn't cheat, and they didn't, you know, forget their supplements so much. Some started at different times because maybe they could not financially swing it early on. These girls are, most of their care is not covered by insurance. Sometimes some of the insurance co-ops, but not major insurance. Like if you're going to a doctor, you're not going to just pay $40 a copay and get the rest of your care paid for. They had to want this and pay quite a bit more out of pocket. So with doing that, I wanted to be considerate of their financial situation. So some just started it like for the last trimester from 28 weeks through postpartum. And there were a few that just took it the last 2 months, the last 8 weeks. But whatever they could do, something was better than nothing.
That's awesome.
Hey, Donnellyn, you talked about postpartum issues. There's a lot of people out here that are dealing with other issues that have to deal with depression type issues. What were some of and we've only got a couple of minutes left, and we will be having our after show today, right, Maureen? So, because the Aussies are not on right after us, they have a presentation they're actually going to be doing. What time, Lee? In a little bit, right?
In 45 minutes
Actually
after.
going on right now, and I'll be joining them in about 45 minutes.
Okay. But they're on another channel, obviously. But Donnellyn, what are some of the benefits of these molecules in helping with some of the issues that a lot of people are dealing with, not just the mothers or fathers, but a lot of people in general? What have you seen with that?
Emotion in the brain.
The emotions, the brain.
Yep.
Well, again,
A lot
it's
bigger picture than.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's everything that our the presentation talks about, the pathways, we've heard about the different conditions in young children, and some of that is just misfire and hormones. We know what a difference hormones can make in the way a woman feels, men too, for that matter. But it's usually more talked about in the female arenas. And if it will correct hormones to help you, if it helps your body correct the hormones so that you can get pregnant, so that you can carry a baby, it can certainly help them to keep the hormones level after a baby is born. When a baby's first born, your hormones are very unstable and out of whack because you're basically still in a pregnant state, but now you're nursing. That keeps your body thinking it's pregnant, but you're not. So it's no longer nourishing the baby. The placenta is gone. A lot of things that have to do with hormones have changed suddenly. So it sort of can throw your hormones into a tailspin. And I always tell moms, for the first 6 weeks, you may wonder when you look at that baby, what was I thinking? Why did I think I wanted this? They don't get to sleep, especially the new ones. They're trying to figure out what the heck to do with this little thing. And then their hormones are roller coastering also. So, but by 6 weeks, things pretty much level off. Well, the beauty of the Redox is it helps that process. It's not as intense and it happens smoother and faster. So, or at least that was my experience. And I've helped a lot of women that were also, menopausal or premenopausal. Help them so that their hormones weren't all over the place. It's just, if you have ever had that issue as a woman, it's kind of like Donnellyn moved out and somebody else moved in, and I don't know what to do with this new person, and I sure don't know how to get rid of it. It's a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling. It's scary. I had severe postpartum depression with my second one. And but that was, I don't even want to tell you how many years ago, but I'll tell you, it was 45 years ago. And that, back then, the only thing I could do was finally go to the doctor so that, I didn't kill the rest of my family. I liked the baby. I just didn't like anybody else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like me. It was totally not like me. It was scary. I thought I was stuck that way. What'd I do? How'd I get this? So, but we don't have to do that because we've got something 100% non-toxic that will help everything level out.
Should be
So-
mandatory, I think.
I think
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
In fact, I would love to figure out how to get another control group together and do this grand experiment for myself. And I'm going to work on that in the future. But
Hey,
Well-
one question that was asked just real quick, and then we'll go to our after party. Somebody asked about the APGAR scores. Did you happen to notice a difference in the
Yeah.
APGAR scores? Of the
yes, they were
fabulous.
great. But now most of our APGARs are good anyway. But my control group had excellent APGARs. And one baby actually had in utero, there were cysts on his little brain. And
Oh.
I put her, that's the reason I said, you must drink Redox. I really want you to do this. She did. And the later sono that was close to birth, they were all gone. Now, they might have gone away anyway. They do sometimes. But I loved that I had something I could do that
Sure.
helped.
That's fantastic.
That's wonderful.
So, in a nutshell, Dr. Osler, what will this stuff work on?
It'll work on any cell in the body.
Does it work on plants and animals too?
It does.
And that brings up who we're going to have on next week. We've got Dr. Marty Morin and possibly a couple of other guests. So, Donnellyn Dominguez, it's an honor and a
Yep.
blessing to know you and
Yep.
to call you my family and friend.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I think we are going to have to again have you back on a very regular, at least quarterly basis, because this information everybody needs to hear. And that's why we keep doing these shows, guys, because even though we may be having some of the same people on, right, we always hear a different message. And we didn't even get into the nutrition angle. So, whoa, just had a bolt of lightning. Did you hear it?
No, but I saw it.
Yeah.
I just see the thunder. Wow.
Yeah.
That's it.
So
Wow.
we may lose the internet. So, Donnellyn, thank you. We're going to go
Love
ahead and
it.
stop the recording now.
Fantastic.